New multi-viewer magic from Ensemble Designs. Stunning detail and simple setup. Easy, click-to-fill configuration from your Mac, PC, or iPad. The new Avenue Multi-Viewer from Ensemble Designs.
Hi, I'm Mike Graticelli with Broadcast Engineering Magazine. I'm here today with Sid Guel. He's a broadcast automation consultant, and he really has first-hand knowledge of a lot of different products he's worked on, both in broadcast and B2B, and right in all different, across the whole spectrum.
That's correct.
What I want to talk about is, in today's world, with people are reducing staffs, being asked to do more, they say, well, just got to automate everything. Is automation really the panacea people make it out to be?
Well, there's a lot of fear of automation in general because, it's computers doing what people used to do.
Right.
And so there's a general fear for automation, and it does take jobs away in some cases.
Okay.
But it also improves a lot of things. It makes things efficient. It makes things better, like your on-air look. So,
Right.
That's why a lot of stations go to automation and rather than not go to automation. But, the stylus is still there, or catalyst is still there where there's the fear of automation.
Right, but it certainly, and I think you'll agree that there's times when automation doesn't make sense, right? It can be expensive, certainly.
That's
and also,
true.
I'm going to hand you a file and you're sitting next to me at the desk, what do I have to do it over a network?
Right.
Talk about a little bit about when it doesn't make sense to automate.
Well, I think the creative aspects of broadcasting
Right.
still really needs to be, human. You can have smart tools, you can have automated tools, but if you're doing live broadcast, sports, or football, or even just some live news, in some cases, it makes sense to just do that live because of just how fast things are moving, and just like a football game, you can't automate a football game,
Right.
and those types of things
Because it's unpredictable, right?
It's
Is that why?
unpredictable, and it's just the liveness of the event that really doesn't, automation wouldn't fit that bill.
Got you. Now, automation in general, relies on a lot of standards, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's all kinds of conversions and protocols you have to adhere to. Talk a little bit about what standards are kind of most important these days.
In automation, in my opinion, BXF has been really, really strong. It's being adopted widely now,
Okay.
and that automates the workflows between the business systems and the production systems and the playout systems.
Okay.
And it's bidirectional, and it's starting to get widely accepted. FIMS is another standard that's actually coming forth now. I talked to a company yesterday that is actually implemented in their product lines and have it installed at a broadcast site. And FIMS is kind of the master control to business systems equal, but in the production world.
Right.
Everything that happens in the production world, either up on the top of it or below it, but everything that has to do with that comes in and out of production, workflows, metadata,
Right.
things of that nature, and it's finally getting to the point where they're addressing, and having a standard protocol for production workflows.
Right, and actually FIMS is all about file-based production and being able to manage the, one program could have 22 different files associated with it.
Exactly.
Different languages and whatnot. So you really,
Exactly.
that's an example, I guess, where you really have to automate, right?
You have to
It'd be
automate it. It's
crazy
just
for a
too much
person.
information.
Right.
And there's too much room for error.
Right.
And that's why standards have been created, and you have to automate those workflows, especially when you're passing around instructions and you're passing around metadata information.
Right. As we move now into the IP world, it seems that the need for automation might be less because when in IP you could send a packet with information to tell a machine to do something.
Mm-hmm.
That's what traditional automation did, right? So does IP perhaps minimize the need for automation? Traditional automation?
Not so much. It just kind of changes. In the past, it was serial and GPI.
Correct.
In the future, it's going to be IP control.
Okay.
I heard companies earlier this week talk about that they're changing their entire product line into an IP infrastructure using 10 gigabit Ethernet cards, and then they're going to use it for device control. They're going to use it for metadata transfers, and they're going to use it for audio and video transfers. So it just changes. The realm changes from instead of a GPI pulse to maybe an API call via IP to some external device.
Right.
It just changes the dynamics.
But the thing is, the role of the master control operator, let's say, who used to handle the automation of a whole station, that changes, doesn't it? It is changing.
It is changing. It is changing quite a bit. You know, of course, we'll talk about channel in the box, but
Right.
you know, it's getting to the point where broadcasters are wanting to condense their operations and put more devices into one box. And you know, switchers will still be common in news departments, sports, production departments, but in the master control area, it's quickly fading. Quickly fading.
Right. And you mentioned channel in the box. That's another subject I want to bring up. You know, again, that seems to be for the manufacturers anyways, a panacea. You can do this, do everything. Mm-hmm. I mean, in your experience, have you seen any out in the market, and how are they working?
It's getting acceptance. It's becoming more popular. You know, DirecTV obviously was you know, has a big installation of channel in the box systems.
Yep.
Some of the Fox O&Os have some. And it's gaining more acceptance. You know, there's a fear of putting a lot of things in one box, but as processors become faster and, you know, and the systems become stronger, then, you know, what used to take 3 boxes you can do now with 1 box.
Right.
So, you know, in that sense, it's done quite a bit of good in cutting down all of the extra equipment that you have in your master control.
Okay.
But the fear is, and what channel in the box manufacturers have to keep in mind, is to make sure that they have redundant configurations and auto failover configurations. That's key, because, you know, you got to have a backup. You got to have a backup in some form or fashion.
Gotcha. Speaking of redundancy and auto fail, you know, in New York, we have a station, WABC, that's changed over their studio to pretty much robotics and automated kind of production, where they have no camera operators really, and the TD sits in a control room 3 blocks away over fiber. In your experience, do you see more of that? Because it seems like that's kind of the wave of the future, and is that a good thing for broadcast?
Well, it's you know, if you have the same, you know, template as far as a newscast is concerned, it is a good thing, because it polishes your final image. It makes everything look crisp and clean, and it's more it's just a better output of the newscast, and it can be scary at times, but, you know, these systems like Sony and Grass Valley and Ross, they all have options that you can work with. They may not have a full audio board or a full video switcher, but they may have like a shot box or a button panel that you can, in case of emergency, go to the button panel,
or a manual, in other words.
Exactly, or use the button panel. So there is backups in those areas as well.
So then, to my point, I guess, is it a safe thing for a studio to go automation and robotics, or is it?
It depends on what they're trying to accomplish. If they're
trying to reduce staff,
right? if they're trying to, you know, save money, then yes, that's one way of doing it. If they're trying to improve their on-air look, you know, that's also another good thing. If they're looking for efficiencies, and if they're trying to add new channels, maybe a new TV channel, and they want just with automation, it's just an incremental cost instead of having to outfit an entire, you know, news production room to be able to do a new channel, for example.
Right. So in the end of the day, when you design systems, does it include some automation and some manual? Is it more automation than manual? I guess it depends on the project.
Yeah, it depends on the project, depends on the broadcaster too. Sometimes broadcasters just love to do things manually, and I've always told broadcasters that, hey, if they're succeeding in a manual operation, continue to do so. You're doing something that's profitable and making money. You don't need to worry about automation. But if you really want to improve your on-air look, if you want to, you know, look at cutting down costs, maintenance, and expenses, then you look towards automation to help you do that.
Great. So just to talk about your business, you're located in California, is that right?
In Texas.
Sorry, Texas.
Yeah.
Looks close. So, and do you work that whole area? Do you work around the country?
Around the world, actually. Okay. I've traveled, you know, around the world doing consulting work, and it's basically around automation. And automation encompasses a lot of things nowadays.
Right.
You know, news, production, content distribution, asset management, master control. So there's a lot of automation going on now, and a lot of the traditional broadcast products that we've seen in the past are now automating. They've got automated workflow features and options within their system.
Okay.
So that's the area that I work in. So
Great. So how do I get a hold of you?
you give me a call, Sid Guel at sgbach.com, or my phone number 210-525-8433.
Perfect. Thank you, Sid. It's a
Thank
pleasure.
you.